In ancient Greece, theater was closely associated with cult practice and religion. Animals were often sacrificed while people watched. Different deities needed certain animals to be sacrificed on certain days. If a mistake was made, the gods could become angry. The theater was a very important part of Greek culture. Many Greek plays involved the gods and heroes of their mythology. Many Greek plays are still performed and seen today. Most of the ones still around are tragedies. Agamemnon by Aeschylus, The Cyclops by Euripides, Ajax by Sophocles, and The Birds by Aristophanes are just a few of the plays involving Greek mythology that are still performed today. I interviewed Professor McLeod from UNCC about Greek mythology and modern culture and media. Here are some of the things that he said. What are some influences that Greek mythology has on popular culture and today's media?
Yeah, that's a huge question, and I think rather than giving like really specific details, it might be good to talk about structures first of all. That there are certain structures in Greek tragedies, Greek comedies, right, and Greek mythology, and the stories told about them that you see in not just, say, a television drama or a popular movie, but throughout American popular culture. Mm-hmm. So, and then we can get more specific, right, in that there are certain stories that are retold. And I am not going to, maybe you two can remind me here, but what is the film that came out several years ago that featured a lot of popular folk music about three guys escaping from a southern prison?
Oh, yes. Right. And the whole soundtrack.
I'm a man of constant struggle.
Oh, brother,
where art thou? Right, which relives like the story of Odysseus, right? Mm-hmm. So you can probably, if we sat here, we could, I'm guessing, come up with 5 or 6 examples of something like this in popular film, right?
What are some main structures that you can think of that are in Greek mythology?
One thing that immediately comes to mind are hero quests. Mm-hmm. Right, in which an individual or a group of people are beset with some sort of problem, maybe a tragedy that occurs, and then are sent on a quest to somehow repair the damage that's been done. Mm-hmm. I mean, you see that, again, we were talking about, just pick out the movies, the television shows in which that, and then you think, but yeah, that's just basic television drama or film drama, but where does that come from? Mm-hmm. Well, we first see it, at least in Western cultures, in those Greek myths.
Greek myths are often read today and were commonly read in Europe throughout history. They are present in modern books and movies and shape the plot lines of many modern books. The Metamorphoses is a poem that documents the history of the world in a mythological as well as partly historical framework. It was written by the Roman author Ovid and was read often in the Middle Ages as well as today. One of the main reasons that we know about many of the Greek myths is through the Metamorphoses. Another widely read book is the Iliad, which was written by Homer. It documents the Trojan War in terms of mythological events. He also wrote the Odyssey, which tells the tale of Odysseus, a hero from Ithaca who was fighting the Trojan War. Years after the fall of Troy, the hero Odysseus decides to return to his home in Ithaca. Because of his pride, the gods have cursed him to make it nearly impossible for him to return home. He goes through many adventures in the Mediterranean Sea. One example is fighting and escaping from the Cyclops Polyphemus. As Professor McLeod said, the movie "Oh Brother, Where Art Thou" loosely mirrors the story of the Odyssey. The idea of comedy and tragedy also comes from Greek theater. The most famous playwright, and possibly the most famous writer in the world, is Shakespeare. The format and plot of many of his plays mirrored Greek stories. He also had many references to Greek mythology in them. The play Romeo and Juliet tells of 2 young lovers who come from feuding families. Their love causes a series of events which eventually leads to Romeo thinking Juliet is dead and drinking poison. When Juliet discovers this, she stabs herself. This poem was influenced by the Greek myth Pyramus and Thisbe. Pyramus and Thisbe are also 2 young lovers who come from feuding families. Their houses are connected, and they whisper to each other through a crack in the wall. They agree to meet under a mulberry tree. Thisbe arrives first and sees a lion with blood on its mouth from a recent kill. She flees, dropping her veil. the lion mutilates the veil. When Pyramus arrives, he sees the bloody mutilated veil and thinks Thisbe was killed. He kills himself with his sword. When Thisbe arrives and sees Pyramus dead, she kills herself. The play Romeo and Juliet has also led way to other stories, like the musical West Side Story, which follows the plot of Romeo and Juliet. Another play written by Shakespeare is Macbeth. In this story, a Scottish warrior, Macbeth, is promised the position of Thane of Cawdor and king by three witches. When Macbeth is appointed the Thane of Cawdor, he begins to have ambitions of being king. He eventually kills the current king to take his position. His act leads to his downfall. The plotline of a hero with a tragic flaw that leads to his demise comes from Greek myths. Also, the three witches are based on the Fates. The Fates are three mythological women that can determine the fate of humans by spinning a thread for the life of each person. The Greek goddess of magic, Hecate, also appears in Macbeth. The idea of a hero is very prominent in Greek mythology. The hero is seen in our culture in many stories, including stories of superheroes. The idea of a moral flaw is also very emphasized in Greek mythology. A moral flaw is a character flaw that a hero exhibits that causes problems and can lead to the hero's downfall. The most common is hubris, or excessive pride, which is exhibited by many heroes. Hercules had hubris. He thought that he was the best of all men, and even that he was superior to the gods. Because of this, Hera drove him mad and made him kill his children. To repent for this sin, Hera forced him to perform 12 very difficult tasks. Ajax was another hero with hubris. He thought he did not need the help of Athena in a dispute with Odysseus over the armor of Achilles. Therefore, Athena helped Odysseus win. Ajax planned to get revenge, but before he could do so, Athena caused him to think that a bunch of sheep were Greek leaders. He killed some of the sheep, and when he realized that he had been tricked, he felt extremely ashamed. Therefore, he killed himself with his sword. The fact that he was too proud to accept Athena's help was the cause of the whole conflict in the beginning. Icarus also exhibited this trait. He and his father, the great craftsman Daedalus, were locked in a tower in Crete. In order to escape, Daedalus built mechanical wings that they could use to fly away. He warned Icarus not to fly too close to the sun, or the wax holding the wings together would melt. Icarus was not able to get over his pride and eventually flew too close to the sun, making his wings melt and causing him to fall to his death. Odysseus also portrayed hubris. The whole reason that he had to face all of the obstacles that he did on returning to Ithaca was because he was overly proud and thought he was the reason that the Greeks had won the Trojan War. One example of the moral flaw in later books is in Things Fall Apart. This book is set in Nigeria when Christian missionaries from Britain were arriving. Okonkwo, the protagonist in the story, was a local of Umuofia, a Nigerian village. He has great pride as well as unwillingness to change himself when the world changes. He killed one of the missionaries in the village, which drove him to kill himself. There are many other modern books that are influenced by Greek mythology. Examples include The Goddess Test by Aimee Carter, The King Must Die by Mary Renault, and Ulysses by James Joyce. There are also many words and phrases in the English language that come from Greek mythology. Here are just a few of these. Achilles' heel is a phrase that means a person's weakness, especially if what is being described is the person's only weakness. The phrase comes from the Greek hero Achilles, who could only be killed by being struck in the heel. Morphine is a drug that is used to relieve severe pain. The word comes from the Greek god of sleep, Morpheus. The word tantalizing means very alluring or appetizing. It comes from the myth of the king Tantalus, who went to a feast with the gods on Olympus. He stole some of the food and drink, ambrosia and nectar, and brought it to the mortal realm. He was therefore put in Tartarus when he died, where very wicked people are punished. He was put in a pool of water with a branch of grapes over his head. Whenever he tried to drink the water or eat the grapes, they would move away from him. Stygian means extremely dark. It comes from the river Styx, a dark river of the underworld through which dead spirits are ferried after they die. Titanic means very big or having enormous strength. It comes from the Titans, a race of beings that ruled the earth before the gods. A Trojan horse is a computer malware in which a computer appears to be performing a normal function, but in actuality, information is stolen or the computer system is being harmed. It comes from the myth in which the Greeks pretend to offer a giant horse to the Trojans as a peace offering. In actuality, Greek soldiers are hiding inside, who jump out once they are inside the gates of the city. The word panic comes from the Greek god of nature, Pan. He could shout in a way that would put great fear or panic in the hearts of enemies. The word echo comes from a myth in which a nymph was cursed so that she could only say what someone said to her. The word chronological means pertaining to time and comes from the Titan Kronos, who could control time. The word cereal comes from Ceres, the goddess of agriculture. An atlas is a book of maps. It comes from the Titan Atlas, who was forced by the gods to hold the earth on his shoulders. The word chaos comes from the notion of chaos in Greek mythology. It was a swirling matter that existed before the world and that the sky and earth emerged from. There are thousands of businesses and products that have names that are from Greek mythology. Here are a few examples. Centaur Pharmaceuticals is a pharmaceutical company. The name comes from the centaurs, which were Greek mythological creatures with the body of a horse and the torso of a man. Nike is a sports equipment company. Its name comes from Nike, the Greek goddess of victory. Orion Pictures is a film producing company. Orion was a giant hunter in Greek mythology. Venus is a women's razor that is produced by Gillette. Venus is the Roman name of the goddess of love, Aphrodite. Odyssey is a line of Honda cars. It comes from the book by Homer that tells of the journey of Odysseus. Odyssey BMX is a brand of bikes whose name comes from the same source. Pandora is a music website and comes from Pandora, the woman who opened the box that unleashed evils into the world. Ares is the name of a car model. It comes from Ares, the Greek god of war. Promethean is a company that produces boards that can be used in classrooms with a computer to visit websites, view movies, as well as perform other functions. Prometheus was a titan who stole fire from the gods and gave it to mankind to use. Olympus is a leading camera company. The name comes from Olympus, the home of the gods. Ajax is a brand of cleaning products. Its name comes from the Greek hero Ajax. Amazon is a commerce company that uses a website where users can purchase and sell items. It comes from the Amazons, a nation of female warriors. Through watching this video, you have learned of the many ways in which Greek mythology has influenced modern culture. It is present in architecture, art, literature, language, business, and other aspects of culture. Learning about this is very interesting and is an important way of understanding your society as well as other societies. Join us next week to learn about the Buddhist concept of nirvana.